We're at the Bodleian Library at Oxford University, and I am thrilled to be here. As an academic, you have to be thrilled to be at Oxford, one of the greatest universities of the world, one of the greatest universities in history. Every superlative applies to Oxford. Oxford has educated dozens of the prime ministers and political leaders of Britain. Oxford has educated leaders all over the world. Oxford boasts dozens, more than 70 Nobel laureates. Every superlative one can imagine is here. And the Bodleian Library is a good place to start, because the Bodleian Library is the library of Oxford. It is more than 400 years old as the Bodleian, named the Bodleian because it was given by Thomas Bodley at the beginning of the 17th century in 1602, and it is one of the great collections of wisdom for the entire world. It's remarkable that this library was established in 1602 with around 1,000 books at the time, a huge collection for that period. In 1605, it's a delight to think that Francis Bacon, one of the giants of intellectual history, gave his new volume, Advancement of Learning, to this library, saying that the Bodleian Library would be an ark, like Noah's Ark, to keep learning alive. And indeed, it has been for more than 4 centuries. Well, Oxford has been in existence actually without even a precisely known starting date, but it is established that teaching has been going on at Oxford since at least the year 1096, and probably earlier. There is no single moment when Oxford was established as a learning institution, but it means that we are now more than 900 years of this great university. And it's impossible to think about the history of Britain, the British Empire, but I would say the history of Europe without thinking of Oxford, and more generally, without thinking of the great universities of Europe, which date back now 800 or 900 years to their starting date. Indeed, universities are about the longest lived institutions that we have, other than the church itself, and that tells us a lot about Western civilization. Oxford was established probably as the second university of Europe. Bologna in Italy is usually considered to be the first university of Europe that continues to be in existence till today, dated from around 1088, just a few years before the known earliest dates of teaching of Oxford. And then came a number of universities throughout Europe. Salamanca University, University of Paris, Padua, Perugia, other great universities of Europe. And one of the features of these universities is that they formed, almost from the start, a network of scholars, so that Europe became a site of a network of knowledge already from medieval times. From the 1200s onward, scholars across Europe were in communication, were moving between universities, were visiting, were teaching, were having fantastic academic feuds, fighting with each other, the Franciscans and the Dominicans and the other orders, each with their professors, each feuding over the interpretations of philosophy and theology, but establishing a European-wide network of learning and scholarship that over the course of hundreds of years became the basis of the scientific revolution of Europe, already from the time of Francis Bacon onward in the early 1600s, the founding of the Royal Society, which became the base for Isaac Newton, for Robert Hooke, for other great early scientists who brought us the modern age. And those roots go back to the university system itself. This is pretty much unique in the world. Of course, other parts of the world have institutions of higher learning, no question. And some of them date much, much earlier than the institutions of Europe. But it was Europe in the second millennium, from 11th century onward, that built a long-lasting, vibrant, and very much still thriving network of higher learning that transformed society. It gives us pause. Why? Why here? Why on the fringe of Eurasia, what we now call Western Europe, did this great university system evolve? And of course, we don't fully know the answer, but I think the roots go back to the very start of Western civilization itself in the Mediterranean. We can see at least the traces that bring us to the Bodleian and bring us to the modern age already in the earliest learning and writings of the Mediterranean and the early empires even of Egypt and Mesopotamia. I say that because it was in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the Nile Delta, in the early empires of the Fertile Crescent, where writing systems first developed. The earliest writing systems, the Egyptian hieroglyphics, the cuneiform of the Mesopotamian empires, and then the wondrous breakthrough to the alphabet of the Phoenicians that actually gives us, in my view, the basis of why we are at the Bodleian today. Because from that early alphabet, usually dated around 800 BCE in Phoenicia, came the Greek alphabet around the same time, borrowing from Phoenicians, adding vowel sounds and becoming the first true alphabet. And from that alphabet came writing of philosophy, came writing of science, came the incredible learning of Greek culture. And it is right to say that the invention of academia itself really started with the Greeks, of course, with the Academy of Plato in the 4th century BC, with the first university, the Lyceum of Aristotle, and with the great texts of Greek philosophy and Greek science. Now, that forms a direct line actually to the universities of Western Europe, because that burgeoning of Greek knowledge, wisdom, and academia, with Greece becoming the center of the academic world in the ancient Mediterranean region, made Greece the center of learning and an inspiration for the Roman Empire. After Rome expanded across the Mediterranean, conquering Greece, but admiring Greek culture, Greek philosophy, Greek learning, Greek teaching. So all through the Roman Empire, Greek remained the language of scholarship and philosophy. The Greek alphabet became the basis of the Roman alphabet, and the Roman Empire was and bequeathed to us an empire of writing, of texts, of higher learning, of codification of laws in texts. And that written world, that literate world, that world of early philosophy and science is the basis for the foundations of the university system of Europe and all that that bequeathed. Of course, it was already Julius Caesar in 53 BC who raided the British Isles and made his expeditions to today's England. And it was Claudius in the 40s AD that established Roman rule over today's England. And so the Roman Empire and the Greek wisdom and the written texts and the tradition of written law and scholarship came to these isles through Roman Britain. And that, I think, forms the direct link from the ancient wisdom to what would become the early modern scientific revolution, which really was formed just where we stand in Oxford in the early 1600s. Well, there's a long tale to tell from the days of Roman Britain to the fall of the Roman Empire, the Anglo-Saxon period from around 400 AD to around 1000 AD, the founding of the Norman kingdom after the Norman invasion in 1066. But there is underlying this a line of continuity of Roman writing, Roman law, and Greek, and through the monasteries, Christian study of philosophy that forms a continuous link of Western culture. And by the time of 1100 AD, at the time of the founding of Oxford, became the basis for a foundational system and network of higher learning throughout Europe. So what a thrill. What a remarkable place where we are. Today, Oxford is 39 semi-autonomous colleges. We're next to All Souls, one of the most famous colleges of Oxford, founded around 1438. And the history, the learning, and all that that has bequeathed to us for the modern world, you feel in this wondrous architecture and in the joy of Oxford today.